Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. We are looking at the UFC picks for this afternoon. We have an early start for UFC today. Usually these are starting like 5, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 o'clock start. So we'll have afternoon fights to watch. So let's get started with the picks. As always, appreciate if you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already. Give you guys about 4 fighters that I like to fill out my Draftkings lineup with. These fighters can be played on FanDuel as well. And then at the end, we'll look at a 5 fight parlay that I like to, at least 4 of them I really like, and then I'll throw in a fifth one as an underdog if you wanted to get a little bit risky today. So, looking at the fights today, the main event is between Alexander Volkanov versus Cyril Gane. Gane is a perfect 8-0 in his fights. Volkanov also is a pretty tough competitor. He's 33-8. Gane currently has a minus 170 favorite. Gane is just looks so tough out there. I mean, both of these guys do, but Gane just looks like nothing really phases him too much. He has a slight edge in terms of significant strikes. None of these guys really go for takedowns too much, but Gane can at least do some work on the ground if he needs to. Has about a 1 inch reach advantage, which isn't too much. He'll probably be the faster fighter here as he has 20 pounds, as Volkanov has 20 pounds on him. So Volkanov, if he was a guy that gets a lot of takedowns, it would be a bit concerning just having that extra weight. But I think Gane, given the speed advantage, he has a ton of power, and I just think that he's trending really good. He's gonna make a big name for himself within a few months. Gets a couple more wins under his belt if he happens to beat Volkanov today. Maybe win his next fight. I think he'll be in the mix as a top contender. So I will have to start my lineup with Cyril Gane at 87. He's not even in the high nine or in the 9K range like some of these fighters are against like Julia Alvila is 93, Yav Monaco is 94. I think Gane has as much upside as those guys just with the sheer knockout power. Usually you're going to get a fight from Gane. It's not going to go the distance, so that is good for the fantasy points if he happens to finish the job in the first round. Second round with a knockout, he has a couple of submission victories. He just has a ability to get points in a big number of ways, and against Volkanov, I think he might be able to get a knockout maybe in the second round. So I got to go with Gane as my first guy. The co-main event is between Tanner Boser and Ovi St. Peru. At first glance, it's not too much of an interesting co-main event, but we have some bigger implications in play. Boser, this is his last fight on his contract, so I do not know if he just wants to go out and just retire and go back to Canada and fight over there like he was, or if he wants to go out with a bang and maybe get a new contract in the UFC. There was some tweets saying that he was done with the UFC and stuff like that. But Bozer right now, he's $8,300. He was heavily favored in his last 2 fights, and he lost both of them. He did have more significant strikes than Latifi, but Latifi took him down a bunch, controlled him on the ground, and the judges decided to reward that in his most recent fight, which was only a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So I don't really know. He hasn't looked in the best form. Whereas you have Ovi St. Peru, who's also coming off of a loss in his most recent fight, but that was against a Jamal Hill, very tough fighter, and he happened to lose his next fight because he broke his leg. But he had the win before that against Menafield. He's a guy that has a lot of power. He has a 5 inch reach advantage tonight again or this afternoon against Tanner Boser. Both guys have ability to get to some significant strikes. Boser is more aggressive in that department. If Ovi St. Cruz happens to get a takedown, I think he will have a much better shot of getting the win because he will be able to get some ground control time. Boser is not very good on the ground. He doesn't have good wrestling. So St. Peru if he happens to get Boser taken down, I think he could maybe work a submission, but he does have the power to get it done with the knockout on the feet. And as a plus 150 underdog on DraftKings, he's only $7,900. There's not a ton of very good fighters in that range that look that appealing. So I will side with Ovi St. Peru to maybe get the upset victory. Boser lost both of his most recent fights where he was heavily favored. He was minus 170 plus in both of those. I think maybe St. Peru can get the job done and continue to kind of make people that bet on Boser pay. So going with these 2 fighters still leaves you with 8,350. We still haven't got to my favorite fighter of the slate. That would be Rakhmonov here, Shavmet Rakhmonov. He is just very fun to watch. He has a huge advantage in this one in terms of just height, in terms of reach, he has, if we can pull up his stuff here, minus 300 favorite, so he is one of the most heavily favored fighters on the slate. 10-inch reach advantage over a 7-inch height advantage. He is very accurate with his significant strikes. Both throw about a little over 2, and then if he happens to get Paredes on the ground, he will be able to just submit him. He's very good with the submission attempts, and just having that much of a reach advantage, that much of a height advantage on your fighters can make a big difference, especially if he happens to get him taken down. It'll just be tough to get him off of him. So I will go with Rakhmonov as my favorite fighter of the slate. He's $9,100, but he's a guy that can put up 100 plus in a very quick second, and I don't think this fight will last too long. I think he might be able to get the job done before the end of the first round. And then another fighter that I like to pay up a bit is Andre Fili. He's $8,900 against Pineda. If you look at the fights between, or the matchup between these two, we see that, if I can find it here. So Fili has about 4-inch height advantage, a 5-inch reach advantage. Both fighters throw about 3.5 significant strikes per minute. Pineda is a more accurate fighter, but Fili is good with the takedowns, happens to get some takedowns. Might be able to get some control time on the ground. Pineda is also good with the submissions. He has good wrestling, so I don't know if Fili wants to get the fight to the ground. If he happens to keep it on the feet, I think he has a pretty clear advantage in terms of striking. We'll be able to keep Pineda away with his jab if he wants to. So I will side with Fili to get the job done. He's only a minus 230 favorite, so I think that is a pretty good number to get him if you wanted to make a bet on him. And then looking at some cheaper fighters today, we have $7,700 left. Looking at the fighters below 8,000, my favorite would be Ovise in Peru. I think you could look to Volkov if you think he can get the job done against Gane, or even if you think he can keep it competitive enough to where he's able to accumulate some Draftkings points. He's 75. He wouldn't be the worst play. And then I think you could look to Timur Valiev as a guy that could be a surprise, could emerge as a surprise victory today, just because he's super cheap, and I think people are kind of overlooking him a little bit. And then the last fighter would kind of be like Nicholas Dalby against Tim Means. It's almost a pick-em between these two, plus 110, minus 130, both fighters. Means is definitely a guy that's super aggressive out there, but Dalby can get you a takedown or two, and maybe just happen to be in a good position to get some control time. He's also very tough, so I don't think he's going to go out pretty easily today. At only 78, he makes some sense if you needed a cheap fighter. So the fighters below 8,000 that I like are Dalby, Ovise in Peru, maybe Valiev. Those would be the three that I kind of like, at least have a shot to get the victory. I don't really see anybody else that looks too appealing for me. And then in the 8K range, besides Fili and Gane, I think you could look to Charles Rosa. I like him today. He's not going to throw as many significant strikes as the other guys, so that's why I like to side with them instead. But he is very good with the wrestling. Could get you a submission, but it's going to be a little bit tougher for him to accumulate those fantasy points unless he gets like a first-round submission. And then the $9,000 range, it's Rakhmonov is my favorite. Avila would be second. And then I think I kind of like the high 8K fighters instead of paying all the way up for like Monaco at 94 or any of the other fighters that are above 9,000. And almost forgot to mention the parlay. This is the 5-fight parlay that I kind of like for today. I think the only one that I would be a little bit uncertain with is St. Peru, just because Bozer could happen to get the victory in that one. But I really do like Cyril Gane, I like Fili, I like Rakhmonov, Rosa. I think those are pretty good shots to win. Ovise in Peru, I think, could go either way, but I would like to side with him at plus 150. So that is about plus 187 odds on this one. You can play it on whatever sportsbook you have. This one is on BetMGM. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time.